Hey guys, good morning, good evening, good all the things. What's going on? I'm Catie Brannon. So I'm going to have a viewer discretion is advised warning on today's podcast / video. If it's your first time here, hey, what's going on? I'm Catie, and this is nothing but good energy and good vibes. Oh, reminds me I need to light some light candles. All right, you have white candles lit. You have positive, wonderful energy in this room. Let's take a deep breath. And we're going to begin this horrifying tale. Now, before I start, please grab a comfort item. I'm serious. This case, guys, I literally have been researching for days, and I have been sleeping like all day because I've stayed up all night until 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and then I go to bed and I wake up at 3. That's not normal, I know. But then I just got done watching more interviews and I just bawled my eyes out. So I collected myself. I got some food, I made a really good pulled barbecue chicken dinner. It was so good. And then I now just heated up some coffee in my awesome festive mug. Oh, I love it so much. There's a snowman on it. There's a Christmas tree. Just all the good vibes. So please, guys, grab a comfort item. Today's comfort item is the abominable snowman from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I hope one day a friend of yours calls you random, and I'm talking about a friend you haven't talked to in like a long time, and they call you randomly and they're like, hey, do you want to go and hang out? And then I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we ended up going to Busch Gardens Christmas Town and playing the games and won the abominable snowman, and it's really soft and big. It's like a pillow. It's great. It's such good vibes. All right, now what is not good vibes is this horrible story, but I will say there is definitely silver linings to the story, but I don't know if that outweighs more of the bad, because the bad, you guys, is really, really bad. Like, really, really bad. If you cannot mentally prepare yourself for the abuse of children, pedophilia, kidnapping, a family massacre, please click out of this podcast. And I do not take any offense at all. I really care about your well-being, because I know it takes a lot for someone to listen to this. Okay? All right, before we begin, I have a lot of sources on the subject. The main one, I found this on Unseen. It is a YouTube podcast channel. And then I had to check out my EWU people, Explore With Us. They are an amazing true crime channel that just does their research. They get information that no other, like a regular, plain Jane, can get information. They really, really care about the people, and they tell their stories. So when I watched their video, I was like, my heart was crushed. There is also an HBO Max documentary of People Investigates, and it is the one from 2021, the first episode, called the Grony Massacre. And that is like 90 minutes, and it's pretty hardcore, but they go really in depth to the police investigation. It's very, very well done. So there is quite a few podcasts on this, but I was very surprised that like the main podcasts I listen to, or like the more well-known video YouTubers, have not done this. I was like, wow. But I think because it happened in 2005, actually, and I got something weird about that. So when I was I'm going to say my age, sorry. In 2005, when I was in school, I remember this poster. Now, I think 2005 was MySpace days, and I remember looking at that little girl and her brother, and I don't know if it was just like a thought or something, but I remember talking to my friends, and I'm like, she's gonna be found. And they're like, what? I'm like, Shasta is going to be found. And I remember when she was found, like less than 3 months later, everyone was elated because this was in Idaho. You know, we're in high school. You don't want any child to be missing. But of course, you know, back then we really didn't know the horrific details or what Shasta Ray went through. And I'm telling you guys, I don't think a normal together, I feel like anybody could not handle this. I'm serious. Like, Shasta Ray, if you come to this podcast, first of all, hi, please know that you are a hero. And I don't even know what to say, but you are so strong and you're incredible, because by you surviving, you also gave closure to other families. All right, you guys, sorry, I ramble sometimes, and I also talk in riddles. But yes, hit the like and subscribe. And one more quick thing is that I've gotten subscribers, and hello, thank you so much. My goal is to reach 1,000 by February. I mean, why not? How cool would that be? I feel like every time you watch or even give me the time of day, you're also doing that and being the voice for the voiceless. So please do not forget that. And please know how great you really are. Perhaps disturbing like me that we can handle this matter. But again, viewer discretion is advised. Okay? All right. Squeeze your comfort item, eat a snack, have some tea, but I have coffee this time. Oh yeah, so good. Espresso. It's what I need at like 8 o'clock at night. Okay. So let's start with this monster, Joseph Duncan III. Joseph Duncan III was born late February, which makes him a Pisces. Now, he was from Fargo, North Dakota. And this guy, oh my goodness, when he was caught, he was 42 years old, but we're going to go back. And I'm going to paint a picture of what kind of monster this creature is. So Joseph Duncan III grew up in a very strict religious household. That's what the thing is. He had a strict mother. They're very religious, yada, yada, yada. Okay? I'm not trying to undermine his abuse or his strictness. I'm not trying to. I just think there's no excuse to be this terrible of a human. I just don't. So when he was 15 years old, he was arrested for raping a 9-year-old boy at gunpoint. Yeah, he was 15 years old. And throughout the years, he was in and out of jail for child assault. Yes, he is the worst kind of pedophile. And when you guys find out, he's also a horrible, horrible sexual sadist. Which I will tell you that is very rare in the actual killer psychology. He's like Danny Rawlings. Danny Rawlings is the inspiration kinda for the Scream. He was a horrible slasher that tortured women while having sex with them for pure pleasure. Yeah. He is garbage. So Joseph Duncan is a registered sex offender. He is actually the third, which is one of the highest. Now, when he is living day to day and doing his thing and kind of want to right his wrongs, apparently, when you are that high list on any kind of sex offender list and there's a child that is missing, the police will always come to your door. Now, Joseph says that because that happened and the police always came to his door, he got so angry because everyone kept accusing him of being a child rapist, even though he said he righted his wrongs and he tried to go on, and everything like that. It's basically like, if you keep blaming me, if you keep calling me that, then I'm going to be that. I will show you. Yeah, so 2 months before he actually, Yeah. He actually hurt a boy again, and then his doctor friend apparently posted bail, and 2 months later, this horrible massacre began. Yeah. It was in a small town in Idaho that has like a French name, but it is sounded like Coeur d'Alene. Coeur d'Alene is a small town in Idaho, and it's actually gorgeous. There is beautiful landscapes, the forests are lovely, and the people are very lovely as well. Very small town folk. So Joseph Duncan actually just wants to go to his mom's, and is like, before he's going to his mom, this is disturbing, but he had stolen a vehicle, you guys, and there were like 33 marks during the, because when you are driving a certain vehicle, it has the GPS markers, and it was 33 markers, which makes it even more horrifying. That means that he was canvassing the neighborhoods. He was canvassing neighborhoods when he saw child activity, whether there was playgrounds close to a park or even children, and he would canvass. And quite a few times he actually found children, but they were too old. Now, one day he goes through and sees this little house, and the house is actually called the Wolf Lodge. And you had Brenda, you had Mark, you had Slade, and you had Shasta and Dylan living in this home. Now, when Shasta and Dylan were in their little bathing suits and they were in the sprinkler, it's kind of around summertime, so it's hot. They were just playing. I mean, let me know. Like, I loved playing in the sprinkler when I was a kid. Well, this creep saw them and wanted them. We do not know who the main target was, but him being a horrible pedophile, I think Dylan was the target, sadly. So Duncan starts doing some like stakeout stuff. Yeah, total creepazoid, and he gets his kidnapping kit going. One day, he actually sees the family's pit bulls, the dogs, and he starts to kind of befriend the pit bulls. Like, apparently he gave them like a piece of meat or something, so the dogs wouldn't like come attack him. Yeah, I know, this is like scary, bizarre stuff. So you have Brenda, you have Mark, you have Slade, and Slade is only 13 years old. Shasta is 8 years old, and Dylan is a little younger. He's 9 years old. So one night, Shasta is awakened from her sleep, and she's thinking like, oh, Mom, it's time for school, you know? And her mother is in tears, and she goes, no, there's a man here, and he doesn't want us here. And she's like, huh? So, you know, the mother wakes up Dylan and Shasta. Now, this is Joseph's words. Before he went into that home with a sawed-off shotgun with a ski mask, he goes in and he says to himself, you know, there's no turning back. He goes, if this door is unlocked, I'm going in. But if it's locked, I'm not going in. And tragically, the door was unlocked. Remember, this is like a kind of neighborhood where, first of all, there wasn't even like many neighbors around. Like, it's pretty isolated where Wolf Lodge was. The door was unlocked. So he comes through the back door with a sawed-off shotgun, and, you know, there is in detail about how it happens, and like, you know, how the mother was sleeping on the couch, and Mark is actually, I would say, like the stepdad of the kids. It was Brenda's boyfriend, Mark. Mark was sleeping in the bed, Brenda was sleeping on the couch, and the kids were in bed sleeping. Well, you know, Joseph goes and gets a sawed-off shotgun, points it to her face, and makes her get up. And she is just like, you are woken up from sleeping and you're like, what's happening, So he gets her to like get the kids. He wakes up Mark, and then Slade is just like yelling, why? So they get him in a room, and the girl, Shasta is terrified, and Duncan looks at her and does, he puts his finger to his lips and does the hush kind of, like the shh. Yeah, I know, creepy. And she is just scared to death. Then she sees her family being duct taped. They're not only being duct taped around their hands and ankles, they're also having zip ties. Yeah. There is also duct tape around their mouth. And it gets more brutal from here. It gets brutal. After that is happening, everyone is confused. Hey man, take whatever you want. It happened very fast. So the first thing Joe did was grab Dylan, and he grabbed Shasta. And they're still tied with zip ties. And they're walking, and he places them in the backyard on their stomach, and he's like, don't move. If you move, basically threatening them. And these kids are so scared. Like, they don't know what to do. You have Dylan and Shasta looking at each other like, okay, it's going to be okay, And then they see their poor brother, Slade. Slade looks, he is just stumbling outside. Shasta said that he had a confused look on his face, but there was like blood everywhere. It looked like Slade was trying to escape to get help, and Joseph quickly put an end to that. Shasta remembers Mark yelling out and groaning the word ow. So what he did was he got a hammer. It was a big hammer, and he bludgeoned Shasta's mother, the boyfriend, and Slade. Now, Slade, like I said, got up and wondered, but he had such huge head injury that, his kid is 13 years old, and he's trying to go get help or trying to escape, but Joseph quickly gets him, and then right in front of Shasta, and like the brother by the apple tree, by the home, Joseph gets the hammer and just wails on poor Slade again until Slade just like drops. Shasta is so scared. She does not understand. She didn't see the hitting of the bludgeoning of her mother and Mark, but she did see the bludgeoning of her brother. I can't imagine, you guys. Oh my God. See, I'm already getting choked up. I'm sorry. It's a brutal case. So Joseph takes Dylan and Shasta and puts them in a vehicle. And as they're driving away, daylight is coming. The sun is rising. And they see Slade actually get up. He gets up, and they were just astonished. But Joseph knew as soon as the sun was coming up, they had to get out of there. But Joseph knew that, Slade's injuries was horrible, that he was going to die soon. Less than 24 hours later, a neighbor went to the home to actually pay Slade $10 for mowing their lawn. Slade would actually go around and help other neighbors, just a good kid. And what's haunting is I found out actually on a comment on one of the videos is that her nephew actually was supposed to spend the night that night. But since there was a food fight at school, he ended up being grounded and he didn't stay the night. I know. I got the chills. It's yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, I'm sure the nephew has survivor's guilt in a way that his friend was brutally killed. Damn. So, okay. So the neighbor is going there, but he notices the door is open, the front door, and there's a huge swipe of blood in the front door. And the neighbor is like, I am not going in there. I'm calling 911. So he called 911, and then they were there quickly. And oh my gosh, the police officers went into a nightmarish sight. First of all, there was so much blood. It was unreal. There was blood all over the backyard. There was blood all over the hallway. There was blood. And then they noticed that, Slade was in a different kind of position than Mark and Brenda were. Slade's tape, we don't know if it was from wear and tear, but his duct tape from his mouth was down to his neck. And sadly, he was deceased. Now, investigators found out, and Shasta found out, that when he got up, he actually got back into the house. That's why he was dripping blood everywhere. And then went to his mother and died by her feet. I'm sorry. Oh my God. Can you imagine, that kid, man? He died right by his mother's feet. And we're not even at the worst part now. We're not even at, it just gets worse, you guys. It just gets, way worse from here. I'm sorry. I couldn't even, talk about this with my partner. He was like, oh my God, you can't go to bed now. He's like, you cannot have this in your mind, right before you go to sleep. And I'm like, I know, but I have to tell their story. I have to. I was like, these, Slade and the mom and the boyfriend, they died in such a horrific way. Ow, man, to get killed and bludgeoned to death by a hammer? Sorry, you guys, if it's your first time here, it's a different kind of true crime channel. I show emotion because I'm human, and I put myself in, the family shoes. I'm very empathetic. And I really care about people. Oh, I gotta take 5. All right, you guys. So you have Joseph taking Dylan, and you have Joseph taking Shasta. He drives them 150 miles away to Lolo Forest in Montana. Lolo Forest is very beautiful, but not only it's beautiful, it's extremely desolate. Very, very big forest. I mean, it is in the middle of nowhere. And Shasta, even at 8 years old, knew that screaming and trying to run away would not help, because they would either starve to death because they had no idea where they were. So they just wanted to make sure that Joseph wasn't mad. Now, Joseph not only would abuse the children, he would also record it. And he abused them in horrible ways. Not only sexually, but also he would record him torturing Dylan. Yeah, it's awful, you guys. I don't want to put it in your head because it's already in my head. Let's just say, this kid suffered a lot, and he was just a little boy. So when Shasta would see the tape, the bastard would play the tape for the little girl, and she was horrified about what happened to her brother. She said for a little bit her brother was starting to lose hope. And Shasta grabbed his hand, and she's like, I will never let anything happen to you. I promise. I promise. And Joseph would make the kids write letters to their parents, making them believe that the mother, the boyfriend, and the brother is still alive. Just horrible psychological mind tricks. Yeah. And when they were running out of food or had to get some supplies, he would chain poor Shasta to a tree. And I don't know if he chained him to a tent, but he would put them far from each other so they wouldn't help each other, but it would be enough that they could talk to one another. And Joseph would be gone for hours and hours and hours on end. So these kids suffered. Joseph did take Shasta's innocence and did take Dylan's innocence. One day, this is like days and days and days go by. And while this torturing was happening, a community came together to do everything they could to find Shasta and Dylan. There were Amber Alerts. There were posters everywhere. The media coverage was huge. Huge. And, but Shasta never lost hope. A little 8-year-old girl had so much strength. It's unreal. She just didn't want to die, and she would have done anything to save her brother's life. By now, Joseph has had the kids for weeks. Weeks. He's had them for weeks. And, oh man. One day, he tells the kids, hey, let's play a game. There was a squirrel that actually came in and out of their campsite all the time. And Joseph said, if you catch the squirrel, then I will let you go. I'll let you be free. And Dylan was excited. So he went to go and catch the squirrel. And he did. He caught the squirrel. And Shasta and Dylan were excited. She's holding her brother's hand. And then out of nowhere, she hears this loud crashing sound, she says. And her brother's hand slips from her hand. She is absolutely horrified. Dylan actually starts holding his insides. She says, he's holding his insides and looking at her. And then Joseph fires again, but this time right in his head. Right in front of Shasta. Shasta doesn't scream. She doesn't fight. She is just beyond traumatized. Because she was seriously holding her brother's hand, thinking they had a chance to get out alive. And she promised her little brother that she was going to get them out alive. Joseph immediately says he's sorry. He said it was an accident. The gun went off. And then he shot the second time because he wanted to take Dylan out of his misery. Can you imagine, guys? No, please don't imagine. That is so awful. So yeah, this guy's evil. Very evil. When he would abuse the children, he would shout out the Lord's Prayer. And then he would abuse the children. This is all on tape. I have not seen the tapes. I've only read the testimonies. And, even the judge said in his 31 years of being a judge, he has never met more of an evil person than Joseph Duncan. 31 years. Yeah, before Dylan was killed, the torturing was saying the Lord's Prayer, and then he would say things like, "Where is your God now? Where is your God now?" And then he would say things like, "I am the devil." Yeah, this guy is friggin' sick, like a fucking psycho. Shortly after the murder of her little brother, Joseph knew that Shasta had to die. She knew too much. The media, they're getting too close. He knew that he had to get rid of her. So he gave her a choice, an 8-year-old a choice. Would you rather be shot or would you rather be strangled? And Shasta saw how her brother was shot, and it scared her so much. And this little girl wanted to survive. She said, I want to be strangled. So he laid the little girl on the ground, got a rope around her neck, and started pulling. And then Shasta said she was starting to pass out. She actually saw the white light. And then the words out of her mouth were jet. Now, the word jet, J-E-T, was significant because at night, I don't know if he was intoxicated or what have you, or knew he was going to kill the children, he started doing a lot of confessing and talking to the children. First of all, he talked about him being in prison, and his prison lover called him Jazzy Jet. Jet was like, I'm guessing, the good part of his personality. I don't know. And the other thing he said too, which I want to talk about, is the other murders he committed and the abuse that he has not been caught yet. But we're going to get to that. So Shasta is like, well, first of all, when he's telling the kids that, he's like drugging them. I'm not sure if it's marijuana, but he's definitely making them drink so she would forget what's happening. But she said she would pretend to drink. I know, an 8-year-old kid, man. So smart. She wanted to remember everything. But as soon as she said Jet, and then she looked at him and said, I don't want to leave you, Jet. He started crying. And he said, wow, I can't believe you called me that. And you really care about me. The manipulation starts. And little 8-year-old girl's like, yes, I don't want to leave you. I love you, Dad. I don't want to leave this world without you. I'll miss you. She just like made him believe that he is like the bee's knees. And he believed it. And he's like, you do? You really care about me? So she goes, yeah, absolutely. Like anything that he said, she would pay attention to. She would tell him, I love you, Dad. He really believed that she was caring about, an 8-year-old child. Like, what? Yeah. And then after a while, she's like, well, I want to show you where I grew up. I was like, and he's like, well, would you meet my mom and my family? And she goes, yeah, I want to. Yeah. But before we go, I want to show you where I went to school. And he's like, you want to show me where you went to school? And she's like, yeah. I know. This little kid, man. Meanwhile, 40 days investigators searched. They searched all leads, like 7 days a week. They did not have any days off. They really wanted Shasta and Dylan to come back. Like, they did everything they could. They said that every day was a new day, and they were very, very hopeful. Now, July 2nd, 2005. Yeah. July 2nd, 2005. Amber Peace. She was working for 4 hours at a Denny's, and she just got off her break. Now, Amber Peace is about to wait on this table with an older gentleman and a young girl. And she immediately noticed something is awry. The girl's clothes is extremely dirty. She was filthy. Her hair was not clean. And the older gentleman was staring at her. And when she went to go get their order, she's like, hello, hey, can I get you something? It's like something to drink. And Shasta didn't say anything. She was just didn't say nothing. It was until he looked at her and, nod their head or something like that. And then she finally said, a shake. She goes, okay, darling. But this this waitress is just like, oh my gosh, this little girl looks like Shasta. So she kind of does like some kind of diversion and tries to keep him there. So the first phone call, you can listen to it. She's telling the police, hey, this little girl is in Denny's right now, and she looks like the girl from the missing posters. She looks like Shasta. Now, sorry, Amber, but you don't sound sure in the phone call, you know? It wasn't until a male customer, called 911 and was like, you need to get Dad down here, get a deputy. I can swear this is the girl that's from the missing poster. But I will say Amber Peace is freaking amazing because she did everything she could, because Joseph started to stand up and wanting to leave the restaurant. He goes, check please. And she did everything she could. She stayed calm and she's just like, yeah. She goes, yeah, absolutely. She's like, but I'm having problem printing out with the machine. So she knew like where they were, which was actually in the area where Shasta grew up. So even though some time has passed, it wasn't enough where people didn't care about this little girl, which is, I find, amazing. So you actually had the whole community and people at the restaurant kind of like, you had one customer actually guard the back door so Joseph could not run. And she knew it would take like 8 minutes until the police got there. And she knew if he left with that little girl that they'll never see her again. I don't know how Amber knew, but she knew. And again, she did everything she could to do like a diversion. She was like blocking him from leaving, like just was like nonchalant about it. Like I said, Amber Peace, like your name says it all, boo-boo. Like, yeah, awesome. So the police get there and they immediately arrest him. But he's not talking. But poor little Shasta, excuse me. Shasta sounds like pasta. Excuse me. Sorry. Shasta, she literally, I mean, you guys, she had a story to tell. Before I tell you what this amazing 8-year-old said to the police, I know I wiped my lips because I was crying. If I am saying anyone's name wrong, I do apologize. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I really appreciate you guys that are with me this far. The little 8-year-old actually told investigators about her brother, and she found out that her brother actually did get up and die with his mom. She also talked about that he actually told her about him getting away with a few murders and what he did to them. Now, the names I'm going to talk about is in Beaumont, California. It was actually Anthony Martinez. The case went cold for 8 years. And then in July 1996, Carmen Cobias and Sammy Jo White, cold case. They were only 9 and 11 years old. The case ran cold because of insufficient evidence. He confessed those murders to Shasta, and the police went into the case again and found out again what happened, what really happened. Now, the bodies were not found, I believe. They were found. Oh, yeah, sorry, I have it right here. They were found, but there was a lack of evidence where they got their case solved. But Carmen and Sammy Jo lived at a motel, and this is outside of Seattle, Washington. And sources say they may have been begging for food, and they got caught by Joseph Duncan, and probably unspeakable acts were done to them. And those two beautiful sisters, one was a half-sister, but still the same thing, sisters, they were both beaten to death. Anthony Martinez. That was, again, really, really sad. He was actually taken while hanging out with friends. I don't know if they're playing basketball or soccer, but Joseph Duncan went up to the group of boys and was saying, hey, can you help me find my cat? I'll give you each $1. So the boys go and want to help him find the cat, and they're kind of getting aggravated, like, dude, we can't find the cat. We just have our $1. And yeah, and then out of nowhere, Joseph, puts out a switchblade knife. I know. And Anthony Martinez was the oldest in his family, and he immediately stood up for the group of boys, including his little brother. And he was just saying, hey, I mean, we're not sure what he said, but basically he was trying to protect the boys. Joseph took him, and the little brother said all he remembers is that man taking his brother and throwing him in the back of the truck. Now, with media and investigative police officers, they did everything they could to actually try to find Anthony Martinez. And they found the body, I think, almost 2 weeks later. And it was horribly decomposed. And the body, he was sexually assaulted. Yeah, this guy, I told you, he's a monster. And there's actually, today, investigators think that there is a lot more souls that were taken, perhaps not taken all the way, but definitely brutalized. And there's definitely probably bodies around Montana, Idaho, also outside of Seattle, Washington. The sisters, oh my gosh, that is just so sad. In 2018, Shasta actually gets married. Yeah, she actually gets married to one of the relatives of one of the sisters that passed away. Right? Talk about fate. She has 2 beautiful children. And before this, I'm just going to graze over this because people are really harsh on Shasta, and I really don't appreciate it. But Shasta was in and out of juvenile detention. She also was charged with methamphetamine. She was a drug user. But she said as soon as she started having children, she really wanted her life back on track. She was tired of people talking about what happened to her. She just wanted to be somebody else. Which, I mean, can you blame her, you guys? Can you? So when she did drugs, alcohol, or acid, or something like that, she was, simply out of her mind, and she wasn't the little girl anymore. So she could be somebody else. But good news is she moved out of that small town, and she moved in Nampa, Boise, Idaho. And she says people are very friendly. They look on the more positive side of things, which I love, because I don't think Shasta should be known for the tattoos on her face or known about all her meth addiction, because what this little girl went through, the trauma, I can't even imagine. Like I said, grown adults, male, female, they couldn't even handle it. Like I told my partner, I don't think I would want to survive. The guilt of just wanting to save my brother, and then you can't. And heartbreakingly, she did say that was the last time she ever made a promise. Was to her brother, because she promised that he would be safe, and he wasn't. And she said she never made promises again after that. Yeah. So I don't want Shasta to, first of all, if it's Shasta or a different kind of way to saying it, I apologize. I don't mean any disrespect. Please forgive me. But I want her to be known for as the hero, because she has more strength than anyone. I want her brother Slade to be known as a hero. I want her family to know that they will never be forgotten. And even today, I send a positive, loving energy, and I really hope that your family finds peace. I really do. And Shasta, you the woman, you're amazing. And I'm sure your kids know how much they love you. And I'm sure you're a great mom. We all make mistakes. We all do. But I believe in you. And I believe whatever you want to achieve in life, you will. I know you will, Shasta. You can overcome anything, girl. All right. And Amber, peace. You're amazing, okay, for being observant. Even though you've been working for like 4 hours for mean customers, probably. I mean, I was in the service industry a long time. I know how it is. But you being observant and just like keeping your eyes open, and that male customer who actually called 911 again, and the police officers and everyone involved that really tried to solve this case. Like, my God, I appreciate you. But what I don't appreciate is our system. Because this psychologist who was mentoring Joseph Duncan, and even Joseph Duncan had this sick blog called The Fifth Nail. It's supposed to be like talking about, the nail of Jesus Christ. I know it's sick. His blog is basically that he's very mad at society, and that love between, a child is not wrong, and all this. But it makes me think, if he died of a brain tumor, yeah, he died of a brain tumor in 2021 while on death row. He actually received 5 life-term sentences and was put to death. Yeah. I know. The judge, everybody just wanted him to die. I mean, he's just an evil, sick person who just explains but he did die of a brain tumor. So how long did he have that brain tumor? We don't know. But I feel like if you're just like a third strike, a really high offender in the pedophilia genre, you should not get out. You should be like, I don't know, like heavily medicated, castrated, definitely needs to have some kind of vaccine to get rid of pedophilia, because to have like sexual fantasies of children, oh my God. Yeah, they really wanted him to die. People usually give convicts kind of redemption in a way, but they did not give him one, especially when he said he loves fantasizing about torturing his victims. Those were his words. So when that got out, everyone's like, oh, hell no, you're going to die. We're not even going to give you any more breath to fantasize. But this crime happened in 2005, and 2021, he was still on death row. So yeah, our system is broken in a lot of ways. But let me know what you guys think about this case. It is absolutely devastating. Like I said, it was very hard to go through, but I just want to honor the heroes in this story, and I really appreciate you guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and let me know what you guys want to hear about next. Thank you so much for listening or watching. You are loved, you are cherished, and remember, you're doing better than you think.